How's it going, everybody? Too Spooky here, and welcome back to The Nightmare Before Christmas, a celebration for 200,000 subscribers. We had a lot of fun this week with some quality spooky content, but unfortunately, today is the last day. To go out with a bang, I figured why not make a video about the movie that this week was named after. So today, we are going to be counting down 50 facts about The Nightmare Before Christmas. This video was suggested by Stephen Brown. Thank you so much for the suggestion, my man, and I hope you enjoy this one because it's going out to you. Now, without further ado, let's jump in. Number 1. The Nightmare Before Christmas all began as a 3-page poem that was written by Tim Burton during his time as a Disney animator. After leaving Disney and gaining some traction in the film industry, he originally planned on adapting the poem into a TV special or a children's book, although he had no luck doing so. Eventually, after the success of The Little Mermaid, which refueled Disney's animation studios, the project was picked up by Disney and the rest is history. Number 2. The original poem was written by Tim after he witnessed a store taking down Halloween merchandise and putting up Christmas merchandise right afterwards, and seeing the different holidays side by side while the redecorating was taking place just kind of set off his imagination. Number 3. Other inspirations for this poem included the Christmas specials Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Number 4. The only characters present in the poem that made it over to the theatrical release were Jack, Santa, Zero, and a couple of the kids who had their names mentioned. Otherwise, everyone else was original to the movie. Number 5. Tim Burton did plan on directing the film himself. However, he was just too busy with Batman Returns and Ed Wood and didn't have the time. So Henry Selick was brought on to direct instead. Number 6. The movie took a total of 3 years to complete once they began filming. There were also around 100 people working to get everything done. And with that many people, you'd normally think that things wouldn't have taken that long. But you also need to remember that this is a stop-motion film. It took around 12 stop-motion shots to fill up 1 second of film, and the movie is an hour and 16 minutes long. The total amount of frames needed to complete the film was 109,440 frames. That's quite a bit, and it generally took around a whole week just to accumulate 1 minute worth of film. Number 7. If there was ever a problem with a single frame in a shot, the crew would have to go back and reshoot the entire sequence to get it right. So perfection was key when it came to each and every frame. Number 8. Although Tim Burton didn't direct the film, he was one of the producers. The only issue is, according to Selick, Tim only showed up to the set a maximum of 10 days total. Considering the film took over 3 years to make, only 10 days of his presence is a bit sad. Number 9. Vincent Price was originally going to voice Santa Claus in the film, and he even completed all of Santa's lines. The only issue was his wife unfortunately passed away shortly before they began. Apparently, you could hear the grief in his voice, and Selick felt it just wasn't cheery enough to be Santa. Instead, Edward Ivory was brought in as the new Santa Claus. Number 10. Patrick Stewart was originally going to narrate the opening introduction for the film, and he did, but his take of the introduction was cut last minute. The introduction with Patrick Stewart can still be heard on the soundtrack though, so not all is lost. Number 11. The film had a budget of $18 million, and it made just over $50 million during its theatrical release, which by film standards is only considered moderately successful. Later reissues of the movie boosted this overall gross to $76 million. Number 12. The movie was initially released under the company Touchstone Pictures. You may remember from earlier that this movie was picked up by Disney, so why wasn't it labeled as a Disney movie? Well, at the time this movie was thought to be a bit too spooky for kids, and Disney wanted to be known as a company that only releases kid-friendly films. Spoiler alert, they don't. But after the success of this movie, Touchstone Pictures was later changed back to Disney's logo for later releases. Number 13. 13. Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Nightmare Before Christmas are the only two animated films released under Touchstone Pictures that are officially considered Disney films. Number 14. Danny Elfman, a very well-known composer, wrote the songs for the movie, and he has stated that the 10 songs he wrote for the movie was, and I quote, "one of the easiest jobs I've ever had. I had a lot in common with Jack Skellington." Number 15. Speaking of having a lot in common with Jack Skellington, Danny Elfman was also the voice of Jack Skellington for the singing portions of the movie. This was because Chris Sarandon, the actual voice actor for Jack, couldn't sing, and Danny's singing voice was so similar to Chris's actual voice that it ended up working perfectly. Number 16. Although Tim Burton was barely on set, during the time he was present, he and Danny Elfman had some creative differences throughout the film. And because of this, Burton brought on Howard Shore to compose the music for his upcoming movie Ed Wood, instead of Elfman. So the salt was real between those two. Number 17. This movie is the first Disney film to be animated in something other than traditional animation. Number 18. The animators officially began the animation process before the final script was even complete. After Danny Elfman had most of the songs written, the animation team decided to get to work bringing the characters to life by not only creating them from scratch, but they also began animating the first song of the film. Number 19. When the set was officially built, trapdoors were constructed underneath each set so that the animators could animate the characters a lot easier. Number 20. The art style of the film was inspired by the art of Edward Gorey and Ronald Searle, aiming to make the set feel like a living illustration. Number 21. If you look very closely at Zero's nose, you'd see that it's actually a small glowing jack-o'-lantern. Number 22. Another fact about Zero, to give him his ghostly cloth appearance, the animators had to use lead. Number 23. Jack's suit was originally supposed to be all black, but due to the dark backgrounds in Halloween Town, his suit would just kind of blend in and disappear in the backgrounds. So instead, his suit was given white stripes so that he would be more visible. Number 24. Disney originally wanted Jack to have eyes, because most of the time, eye expression is crucial to bring stop-motion characters to life. Luckily, Henry Selick was able to convince Disney that he didn't need eyes, and he would be able to provide enough expression with just his mouth and eye sockets. Which brings us to our next fact. Number 25. Jack Skellington had over 400 different heads that the animators would swap out each frame. Each one had a different mixture of mouth movements and eye socket shapes. When it came to his eyes blinking, different sized eyelids were placed in his eye sockets. These blinks would last 3 frames in total. Number 26. When it came to Sally, things were slightly different due to her long hair. The hair prevented animators from swapping out her entire head. Instead, they had different masks that they placed on her head to portray different facial movements. There were 10 faces for Sally in total, and each one had 11 different expressions. Number 27. There were around 227 puppets created in total, which made up a little over 60 characters. Most of these characters had at least 2 puppets made for them, and others had much more than that. Number 28. There's a little something you might have missed with the street band, which would be a head inside the base. This head is also based off of Danny Elfman. Number 29. In the scene where Jack is riding the reindeer through the clouds, it's interesting to note that the clouds themselves were created by hand, using nothing but cotton balls. And apparently that particular scene in the film was also rather difficult to film because of that. Number 30. In the scene where the vampires play hockey with the jack-o'-lantern, the jack-o'-lantern itself was added last minute. Originally, the vampires were supposed to be using a severed head that resembled Tim Burton's. Not sure if it was considered too spooky or if the test shots just didn't end up working like they hoped. Number 31. Being a stop-motion film, it's pretty obvious that some scenes were very hard to film, but the hardest scene for them to capture was the scene where Jack reaches for the doorknob to Christmasland, because the reflection of Jack from the doorknob was very hard to get just right. Number 32. Sally was originally supposed to have trouble walking, likely due to the fact that her body is stuffed with leaves, but after animation tests, she came out looking like she was just drunk, so the idea was put to sobriety. Number 33. During Oogie Boogie's song, there was supposed to be a small sequence where a couple bugs would roll out of his eye and dance before Oogie belches them off. This ended up being cut because it was too difficult to create very small armatures for the bugs. Number 34. The Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't Jack Skellington's first time in a film. The first time was actually in Beetlejuice. You can see his head at the top of Beetlejuice's carnival hat thing. Number 35. Because The Nightmare Before Christmas had such a lasting effect in pop culture, most notably Hot Topic, many popular musicians made covers of the songs from the movie, or included aspects of the movie in their own songs. Marilyn Manson and Panic at the Disco have covered This Is Halloween, Amy Lee and Fiona Apple have covered Sally's song, Korn has covered Kidnap the Sandy Claus, Fall Out Boy and Flyleaf have covered What's This?, and there's also a lot more than just these, so feel free to give Google the old search to find more.
Google? Ha! I use Bing!
Number 36. Although the set was rather small in comparison to a normal movie set, the lighting was treated like a regular-sized movie set, and some shots were lit with as many as 20 to 30 lights to help create the dramatic effect. Number 37. In addition to that last fact, there were a total of 230 different sets used throughout the film, and 19 different sound stages were used as well. Number 38. Pee Wee Herman himself, Paul Reubens, made a small cameo in this movie as the voice of Locke. Number 39. Jack makes a few cameos in some of director Henry Selick's future movies. In James and the Giant Peach, Jack can be seen as a skeleton pirate that is named Captain Jack respectively. And then in Coraline, the other mother is making breakfast and cracks an egg into a bowl. And although it's super hard to spot, in that yolk is Jack Skellington's head. Number 40. In Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland movie, Jack also makes another cameo, which is on the Mad Hatter's tie. Number 41. The movie had two different video games made. The first was for PlayStation 2 and was called The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, which takes place after the first movie. And the second game was called The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King. Number 42. Just like many other popular forms of media, The Nightmare Before Christmas also had a short-lived trading card game. Number 43. Most of the presents that Jack delivers are from past Tim Burton movies. The snake toy and the shrunken head are from Beetlejuice. The duck toy is supposed to be similar to a vehicle driven by the Penguin in Batman Returns, and the cat or mouse toy is supposed to be based on Mickey Mouse, which, because this is a Disney movie, a Mickey Mouse Easter egg is required for this movie to ever get released. Because some of the higher-ups probably found this Easter egg a bit too spooky, there's a second one right after the toy attacks the child, because the girl who was holding the mouse toy has Mickey Mouse pajamas on, and the kid next to her with the duck toy had Donald Duck pajamas on. Number 44. Mickey Mouse also makes another small appearance when Jack is trying to figure out the secret behind Christmas. If you look on the table when he crushes up the ornament, you can see those classic Mickey Mouse ears on the table. Number 45. The Nightmare Before Christmas is considered both a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie depending on who you are. So I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. Number 46. Dr. Fickelstein was originally going to be Oogie Boogie in disguise, which would have been revealed towards the end of the film, but this idea was scrapped. Number 47. If you put The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Corpse Bride, and Frankenweenie's main characters side by side, it almost seems like it could just be one long movie, because all of the characters look so similar. The only issue is this theory has been heavily debunked on why there's no way it could be possible, so I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Number 48!
In the movie, there are a total of 7 different holiday doors: Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, St. Patrick's Day, and Valentine's Day. The 7th door is only shown for a few seconds, with what appears to be a white and red firework, which most people assume to be for the 4th of July. Number 49. There was originally going to be an epilogue for the film that would feature Santa coming back to visit Jack in Halloween Town many years later, to which we would see Jack with his 5 skeleton children.
I guess Sally ended up rattling the old bones quite a bit, if you catch my drift.
And the moment that you've all been waiting for, number 50. Back in 2001, Disney was planning on making a sequel, but not just any sequel. Instead of stop-motion animation, it was going to be made with 3D computer animation. However, it didn't end up happening because Tim Burton convinced Disney to put a stop to it. In different interviews, he explained why. "I was always very protective of The Nightmare Before Christmas not to do sequels or things of that kind. You know, Jack Visits Thanksgiving World, or other kinds of things, just because I felt the movie had a certain purity to it, and the people that like it. So I think we can safely assume that the sequel getting stopped before its development was probably for the better." The original title for the second movie was supposedly going to be called The Unlucky Clover, so it looks like we know where Jack was headed next. Sounds like Easter to me.
Towley, will you please stop it with the drugs? It's making you extra stupid.
I don't even know what's going on right now. Where am I? But that is our video today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you learned something new. If you did, make sure to drop a like. Also, be sure to subscribe for future videos and comment down below what you would like to learn about next. Hopefully you guys have a good Christmas, and to get into that holiday spirit, make sure to pick up the Too Spooky Christmas sweater before it's too late, because it's only available until January 1st, and then it's gone forever. And with that, everybody, that concludes the Nightmare Before Christmas week. Again, thank you guys for all the support and for 200,000 subscribers. It honestly means so much to me, and I promise I'll never take it for granted. I have lots of cool things planned for 2018, so be sure to stick around. You will not be disappointed. Have a great Christmas, have a happy new year, and if you cannot get enough Too Spooky content, well, click here for the previous video, 5 facts about the Pokemon Gastly, or feel free to click here for 101 facts about Yu-Gi-Oh, or 50 facts about Game of Thrones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon with a new video.